Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin shows selling pressure today, more downside. Not surprising, if you watched the previous videos, you are well informed. The idea is that the price could have started now the next move down in the C wave that we're tracking. Yeah, I'm talking about, this is the daily chart by the way, talking about the C wave in this wave 4 correction. The target area for this wave 4 is still here, located between roughly 87,400 to 79k. We will take a look at the 1 hour chart for a little bit more precision here. But overall, the idea was that Bitcoin should start the next move down soon, possibly after a little bit of a larger bounce. We will take a look at that on a smaller time frame. And overall, the trend is still down. We can still not confirm a low in place in this wave 4. And actually, it would look best with at least another low. So that was the communication. And also that this is still a wave 4 pullback. People are asking already, is the bull market over? Well, it is not improbable, but it's currently not preferred, okay? So the idea is still that the market has a good chance at least to find support in this region and then to reverse in wave 5. I really don't want the price to break and sustain below the blue box, however. If it does that, I think probabilities will already increase that a more substantial top has formed. But overall, technically, a wave 4 has space all the way down to the 61.8 retracement at 69k. Again, it would be quite deep for a wave 4, and the ideal target area is located here in the blue zone, roughly between 79k and 87.4k. Looking at the smaller time frame then, we can see that nothing unusual is happening here. The market formed this A wave to the downside around the 20th of December, a B wave to the upside around the 6th of January, and we could indeed be working now on this C wave down. We saw that already with a possible 5-wave decline, which bottomed either here on the 8th of January or the 9th of January. Different ways of labeling this correction, that's not unusual. And then the idea was that we would form either a wave 4 in the blue count or a wave 2 in the white count. Now, I can tell you that the bounce was weak enough to be considered a wave 4. So we got rejected here just below resistance. And that means it keeps the blue count alive. And the question is, what is the blue scenario? So we'll talk about that. It also means we have to consider this wave count still, which is probably good, especially for the altcoins. And also please note that the next move down is not technically confirmed until there is a breakdown below 91,250. So we don't have a breakout to the downside yet. We were simply moving, or we are simply still moving in the range here. So I cannot rule out, for example, that the market suddenly forms another move up before we go down. But that would not change the overall wave count. It would just simply be a little bit more movement in the range. Yeah. Technically, for a corrective bounce, the market has space all the way to roughly 100,500. So it could still move up and down a little bit. What I will do now, based on the latest low, I will adjust the resistance area slightly, but it doesn't really change much. So it's now located between 95.6k and 100,250. Again, that doesn't really change much. But I think based on what I see now, it is quite probable that if wave 2 has topped, that wave 1 really ended here on the 9th. But either way, that move up was weak enough to be considered a wave 4, which means it keeps the blue count we talked about alive. Now, what does that mean and how do I know which one it is? Well, we don't know which one it is at the moment, or I could easily delete one of them. But what I highlighted to you was that if this is the blue count, yeah, we have to pay attention on the way down, which was expected, which might be unfolding right now. On the way down, we have to pay attention to the 100% Fibonacci extension, which is just an ideal target for such a fifth wave, okay? It's a typical target, I mean, not for the fifth necessarily, but for the C wave. Remember, we have an A wave down, and the C wave down, and the C wave often finishes around the 100% extension. That's not really in line with the microstructure of the white count, which should do this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the blue count definitely allows for that interpretation, especially given that blue wave 4 might have ended here and it was a shallow move up, so it can be considered a wave 4. In this case, we have a small 1, 2 up here, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. Now, we don't know which one it is, but it makes sense on the way down to pay attention to this area around 87,500 for a potential bounce. That's what I'm doing. So what's important today? Today we need to pay attention to whether the market can break down below 91,250. I mean, we haven't done that yet. The market is simply touching this previous structural support area here. Okay, so that's next. Depending on if, whether the market breaks through or not, we can then pay attention to the next level, 87,500. We might reach that soon. If there's a bounce from here, the resistance area is still relevant, right? Because it could easily do this for a little while here. But you can't predict this. This is simply just sideways consolidation, which is of course possible. That's why we need that next signal now. A break below 91,250, which, is expected because the trend is still down, as I said, right? Locally. Especially as long as below resistance. Yeah, but we have to give the market a little bit of space to breathe, of course. So a little bit of movement within the local range is still has to be considered at least. And as I mentioned, many altcoins in their current structures, they probably can't cope with more than one more low. So the blue count, I would like to have it. I'd like to see it, but I can't promise it. So it's just something to watch for. That's the update about Bitcoin. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Also, make sure that you follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.